We became the woke department, but not anymore. At the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. The era of politically correct, overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who was literally an alcoholic Fox News host like yesterday, chided the country's top generals and admirals about how woke and weak the military has become during a gathering in Quantico, Virginia. And Cenk, before we get to the nitty-gritty of the story, the important, pertinent details, how many times did Secretary of War Pete Hegseth practice that speech in front of a mirror?
Over under is 21. So look, at first I thought it was kind of funny, like him calling the generals fat and stuff. We'll give you all the details. But I now understand why they're doing it, because I thought this is weird to yell at the generals. But I think there's a secret reason why, and it's partly has to do with the clip you just saw. But we'll talk about it in a second.
So he is asserting that all politically correct woke ideology that he thinks, he's pointing to woke ideology and politically correct behavior as why the military has decayed. Which has the military decayed over wokeness? Because if I'm not mistaken, sexual assault and rape in our military has continued to go unaddressed. That's not exactly what I would put in the category of woke, but nonetheless, let's hear him make his case.
The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading, and we lost our way. We became the woke department, but not anymore. This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
You know, those mini skirt clad soldiers of ours really did turn out to be a big problem, Cenk. They really did. And I'm glad that this important issue is currently being addressed. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, before we couldn't blow up Venezuelan fishermen with the kind of efficiency that we do now. So look, in some ways, Anna, I think that maybe he's doing us a favor accidentally, because when they go to do terrible things, we want the generals to draw a line and say, no, you're not going to trample on the Constitution. No, I'm not going to prioritize you over the Constitution. No, I'm going to follow my oath of office, which is about the Constitution and not to an individual. So him sitting there trying to shame these generals when he was like, forget the alcoholic part. Brother, you were a Fox News weekend host like a minute ago, and you're lecturing them, guys who've had 30, 40 years experience, probably a lot of them saw significant battle, etc. They're gonna hate this speech. It doesn't, I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Even if you're on the right, and then so first of all, imagine that you're in the audience and he's like, there's DEI that prioritize people based on race or gender. Imagine you're a female colonel or you're a black general. How are you gonna feel in that speech? You're gonna despise it. But that's not all. Then he gets to like overweight people. I mean, he alienated almost everyone in the room, right?
Okay, we got to get to that because I have the sound. Okay, so why don't we go to that? Because Go ahead, Cenk. Finish the thought and we'll go to that video.
Yeah, because guys, I want you to, so that seems like a really good thing that he's alienating the entire military when at some point they might need them. But after we watch the rest of this, I'm gonna come back and tell you what I think they're planning and why now I'm a little worried about it.
Yeah, and guys, I also want to kind of draw a distinction between what he's saying and what I think could be a problem in the military, right? Like if you are in the military and you're like language policing, and like, I don't think that is gonna fly in the military. And to be honest with you, I don't even know how much of a problem that is. But in the mind of someone like Pete Hegseth, women should never see combat. They shouldn't ever be on the front lines. And my view is do not lower any of the standards. But if a woman goes through the physical tests and is physically capable to be in combat, then why not allow that to happen? So there are some ideological differences here because he sees gender roles as very rigid and very traditional. But that's not the only problem he's got, because the other problem he has with the military is that he just thinks, people are a little too pudgy, a little too rotund for the military, apparently. Let's watch.
It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations or really any formation and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching. Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair. We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
We love finding folks who are good fits for us, right?
I love good fits.
When you're sleeping, you definitely need a good fit. So I don't get enough sleep during the weekdays, but because of Lisa Mattress, at least on Saturdays, I'm getting some great sleep, and I'm waking up in the morning thinking, I got this. So I love that they have free shipping. I love that they have easy returns. That's super critical for me. 100-day trial. What else do you want?
You got to get that trial.
And they've given away 42,000 mattresses. We love companies trying to do good in the world. So they're good guys and they've got great mattresses.
They're philanthropists.
You can't lose with this. So that's why we picked them, and we hope you do too.
Go to lisa.com for 25% off, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code TYT exclusive to our viewers. That's LEESA.com, promo code TYT for 25% off, plus an extra $50 off. But be sure to enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Lisa.com, promo code TYT. Bitch, have you done hot yoga? Seriously, like I know that yoga in the minds of anyone who's never done it is like, oh, it's so easy, you're just stretching. My body was transformed through hot yoga, like literally, okay? I became lean, I became strong. I'm just bored with it, so I don't do it anymore. And I'm seeing the negative outcome of that. But hot yoga is so difficult. Like the fact that he's downplaying that as if it's like not real exercise is crazy to me. Anyway, Cenk, what do you think? What do you think about the allegedly fat generals that love hot yoga, apparently?
Yeah, I think that his critique of hot yoga was not high on my list of problems with this speech. But his insults to the generals were. So first of all, he calls people with beards beardos, like as in
Which
weirdos.
I like.
Yeah.
No, I give him a pass on that. Beardo sounds great.
Yeah, no, here's who's not gonna give him a pass on that. Some general who had a beard 3 years ago or 11 years ago, just for fun for a second, right? Because they're a normal human being. And they're like, now I'm a weirdo because I had a beard once? Who is this guy? And why am I listening to this idiot, right? And then when you get to the overweight stuff, really the generals were mainly doing hot yoga and stretching? That was the problem with our military? Really, do you even have one general who's done hot yoga or stretching? Why are you weirdly insulting these people? Okay, so here's my theory. They don't want any dissent. So when they order the military into the streets, and as Trump said, use full force against the American people, and today in that same get together, Trump then spoke, and he talked about unleashing the troops and using American cities as, quote, training grounds for our military. No. Our military is trained to defeat an enemy. The reason why we don't let them operate inside the United States, and there's laws against that, is because we don't want them treating US citizens as the enemy. And now Trump and Hegseth are saying, no, that's it. You're gonna listen to every word we say. No one is allowed to dissent, and you'll be fired if you do. And so when we order you to treat Americans as the enemy, you treat them as the enemy, or otherwise you're a beardo who does hot yoga and I'm gonna fire you, right?
Okay, yeah, it's crazy. No, but Cenk, we have to go to Trump's speech and what Trump had to say, because I know you're referencing it, but I want the audience to hear with their own two ears, because Trump's very first comment during his address to over 800 commanders was how the audience, again, filled with military brass, really did something terrible to him. Let's see what that was.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very, don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what, just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank, there goes your future.
Well, who are you, Jeb Bush? Please clap? Is that what that was? That was a please clap moment. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
No, yeah, he's so insecure, guys. How do you not see it if you're on the right? How do you not see it? You're too quiet. Why didn't I get applause? Please clap. And then you're allowed to laugh, and then a bunch of kiss asses in the front laughing. You notice all of the people we were seeing in the back, none of them were laughing. And he went on to like continue to insult them and go off on like these tangents about how he needs the Nobel Peace Prize, doesn't want it, but needs it for America, blah, blah, blah. But Anna, what I'm worried about is they're saying, if you dissent, we're gonna get rid of you. And if you notice in the first clip, Hegseth said, if you don't like any of this, resign. I think that they're trying to egg some of these generals to resign so there'll be less people dissenting when they ask them to do unconstitutional things.
Right, but they would be part of the resistance if S hits the fan, if you will. And look, you're right, because during Trump's address, during his speech, he wanted to justify military action, telling Pentagon leaders to handle the enemy from within. The enemy from within are Americans. Take a look.
We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy. I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. Last month I signed an executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control. Once you get involved at all. You saw it in Washington. We had gangs of Tren de Arag with 10, 12, 15 kids. And these military guys walk up to them and they treat them with disrespect, and they just got pounded. They just got pounded. The gang just pounded, then thrown into paddy wagons and taken back to their country.
So just to reiterate, the president of the United States sees Americans who he is supposed to serve as president of the United States, as a public servant, as the enemy from within, that he wants to sick the military, which receives almost $1 trillion a year in taxpayer money, on Americans that he doesn't like. Look, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, okay? If this were a Democratic president, speaking of sicking our military against conservative or Republican Americans, I would be just as livid. This is a disgusting thing to call for, and clearly he wants it. Clearly, he wanted to declare martial law during his first term as the BLM protests and riots were taking place. Luckily, members of his administration said, "We will quit on the spot if you do that." And so he backed away from that idea. But now he's surrounded by sycophants. He's surrounded by idiots like Pete Hegseth. And that's concerning. That's concerning to say the least. So this is the part of the story that is very worrying for me, regardless of how dopey and hilarious Pete Hegseth's part of this whole event was. This is revealing what Trump really wants to do. And if you love this country and you believe in protecting this country, you wouldn't be cheering on a president that wants to literally use the United States military against its own people.
Yeah, so there's an article the other day about how Stephen Miller's actually running the country. And this is another Stephen Miller 101 thing. But Trump is also totally part of it. Trump, every time he views the military as like his toys, like the GI Joes. Oh, I want to have them on a parade and I want to use them in the cities. But we don't use American military against American citizens. That's not what we do. He's like, I don't like it. I'm the king. No, but brother, you're not a king. You're the president. That's not how it works. This talk is super ugly. I agree 100% with Anna. And you guys have seen us prove our consistency and our principles for the last 20 years, whether it's a Democrat or Republican president. If a Democratic president started talking about the right wing as the enemy within, I'd say, what are you, nuts? Like, look, if you need me to criticize the right wing on issues we disagree on, you came to the right place. And I could do it, and I could do it at the top of my lungs. But they are not the enemy within. They're Americans we disagree with. And in democracy, you're always gonna have people you disagree with, and you're also gonna have a lot of people you vehemently disagree with. We handle that in a democracy through elections, through votes, through debates, arguments. We don't cancel one another. We don't end anyone's speech. We don't use the military to attack our fellow citizens. He says we're under invasion from an enemy within. How can you be under an invasion from people who are already here and US citizens? That doesn't even make any sense. That is brazenly saying, I'm going to treat my political opponents as a foreign enemy. By the way, a foreign government, on the other hand, will be in charge. And if you criticize them, you'll also be arrested and maybe deported. So foreign governments like Israel, awesome, you all serve them. But if you're an American citizen that is my political opponent, that's it, you're enemy within. And why are we, like, there's a national emergency that you have to bring the military? He keeps talking about Portland. Like, if you said, hey, Portland's kind of a mess when there was those giant protests and they took over the streets and the police department, etc. Well, not only would we have agreed with you, we did agree with you. I didn't say bring in the military, but at the time we're like, guys, this is crazy. You can't take over police departments. This can't work. This is wrong, right? But now Portland, what emergency? What are you talking about? What on God's green earth are you talking about? So he'll use any excuse to try to bring in the military so that no one is allowed to disagree with him.